Hey everyone, welcome to another tutorial. This is Up and Running with AdonisJS, Part 2, Directory Structure. Thank you so much for joining me here. Let's get started. Now you can see I have opened on my screen Sublime Text with a brand new AdonisJS application. Getting started with the directory structure, you can see at the very top we have this app directory. This is arguably the most important directory in your application. It holds commands, controllers, models, all the important stuff. So getting started inside of the app directory, you can see we have this commands directory. Commands you can think of as tasks to be run with ACE. ACE is Adonis Task Runner, this guy down here. It can be used to create models, create controllers. I'll show you that in a little bit. But you can also create your own custom commands for it. So that is what this commands folder is for. You can see by default it has this greet command in it, which does not do anything special. I will show you. Hello, Chris. That's it. That is the greet command. So, but you could see how having a task runner could be handy. I mean, if you plug in an asset pipeline, it could be nice to have just have a nice command inside of here that allows you to run that asset pipeline. I'd be surprised if someone hasn't already created a task or a command for running like gulp tasks and stuff. Not that it would really make things any easier necessarily, but I guess it'll keep you from having to run gulp. Instead, you can just run ACE. I don't know. But that is what commands are for. Continuing. This HTTP directory, as its name would suggest, holds files and folders related to HTTP. So we've got controllers, we've got middleware, got this kernel.js, which bootstraps middleware, routes.js, which basically bootstraps controllers. I mean, it actually routes things to controllers or to views. You can see by default it just renders a view rather than actually going through a controller. But the controllers and middleware are both empty to start out with. You'll have to create your own. Listeners has one file inside of it. Now the listeners directory is for creating custom event listeners, and I don't know, it's probably not going to be something you're doing a ton of, but it will allow you to listen for certain events, such as error events on the HTTP or on start events on the HTTP. That's basically it. You can see this, like this HTTP listener. It listens for an error, sets the status to the error's status or 500. If it's in development, it uses Youch to display the error to the developer, which is a really nice way of viewing errors. It's like pretty errors or whatever the thing is called for Ruby on Rails. It shows you the stack trace, it shows you where the error is, and just gives you it in a nice presentable format instead of just being a console error that you have to manually flick through and figure out where things are. But on production, it just logs the error to the error stack and then goes and shows the user the error page. The model directory holds your models. Go figure. It also holds hooks for those models. You can see it is also empty by default. The WebSockets directory is very much like the HTTP directory, except for WebSockets. So WebSockets have their own custom controllers. They have a kernel as well, which loads middleware for the WebSockets. And then they have a socket.js, which is basically like the route file, but for WebSockets. And so you can, create a channel and route that channel to a controller. And that's it. WebSocket, or the app directory, is very... I mean, it's simple, but it's complicated at the same time. There's a lot in there. The Bootstrap directory has nothing to do with Twitter Bootstrap, as hopefully you'll notice since there are no CSS files in here. It's got app.js, which loads providers. It's got events.js, which is what routes an event to a listener. It's got extend.js, which allows you to extend the IOC, or extend built-in service providers. Can be very handy. HTTP, which actually bootstraps the HTTP folder or file server, that word. So this, if you're familiar with Express at all, that's basically what this is doing. It loads the Express server. So server is Adonis source server, and that wraps Express and then calls listen and listens on a host and port. Kernel is the same thing except for ACE. And it allows that, like ACE has that REPL command that allows you to hook into the code for your application, but in the Node.js REPL. So it's pretty cool. Continuing, the config directory holds the configuration for your application. So, like by default, the app.js just sets a bunch of basic application-related functions. Auth.js is only useful if you're using auth inside of your app, which you probably will be. Body parser sets body parser options, cores. Database, you will probably be changing to set your database configuration options, although you really shouldn't change anything inside of here unless you want to create like separate connection names, because it sets the default connection to SQLite, but you can also set the connection inside of your .env file. Event.js, session.js, shield.js. Yeah, you can look at all those later. The database directory holds different database related things. Holds migrations, holds seeds, factory. It will hold your SQLite database file if you're using SQLite. Yeah, everything related to the database besides models all go in there. Providers, if you're not familiar with what providers are in Adonis, which you probably aren't since you're watching this series, providers are basically plugins for Adonis. They allow a separate application or separate package to provide functionality to Adonis. So if you want to create your own custom providers, you can include them inside of here while you're testing. And then ideally, if it's something that can be reused, you will upload it to NPM so that other people can use it too. Share. Open source. Sharing is caring. The public directory holds public files, so don't include anything secure inside of here. Definitely don't put a copy of your .env file inside of here, or any files with passwords. Just be smart. Everything inside of the public directory is publicly accessible to the end user. So if I go to mysite.com/style.css, you're going to see the style.css. The public directory is good for holding images, CSS files, JavaScript, what else? Static HTML, downloadables, if you want. All that kind of stuff. Put it in the public directory. The next directory is kind of the opposite of the public directory, but then it's also kind of the same. So, resources holds views by default. That's all it holds. But you can also put in SAS files, less files, images, anything that is not ready to be viewed by the user because it needs to be compiled can be put into resources. Now, anything besides views will need to run through a custom resource pipeline, since Adonis doesn't provide one. So you can install Grunt, Gulp, Laravel Mix, anything you want, and then just make sure to compile the files from resources into the public directory. And last and definitely least is the storage directory. You won't touch this directory, more than likely. It's supposed to hold log files, file uploads, like any temporary storage goes inside of the storage directory. So put it in your git ignore and basically forget it's there. Now that's it for the directory structure. There are a couple of files I'd like to go over. So .env is one of those. You can see .env and .env.example both exist. They're the same file with one distinction, and that is the app key should be different between them. .env.example gets checked into version control. .env does not. Now this is your local environment file that is going to hold any environment variables that you want. So your host port. These are all important ones, but you can also create your own and then load them with the env provider in Adonis. env.example gets checked into version control, and the app key should be different between the two of these. And this basically just provides an example.env file so that someone who clones your application and is trying to get it up and running can go remove the extension and get the application up and running and know all of the configuration, like environment variables that are inside of there. And the last thing I want to take a look at is this ACE file. It's not actually important, the file, because all that it's doing is bootstrapping the kernel. But we can take a look at the ACE command really quick. You'll see that we've got that greet command. We've got the ability to set up auth. We've got a REPL, or REPL, however you prefer to pronounce it. You got all these make commands: make a controller, migration model, view, command hook, middleware, and seed, and listener. You can create a new listener. You can run migrations and do different things with migrations, seed the database, all kinds of stuff. I already put in a pull request to get the order of these correct, and it's been merged. We're just waiting for a new version of Adonis to come out so that will be in there. But yeah, it annoys me too. So that is ACE, that is Adonis, that is the directory structure. If you liked this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. If you disliked it, I mean, you can hit the thumbs down button. My feelings might be a little bit hurt, but I understand. I am new at this, so go easy on me. But if you do have any comments, suggestions, especially if you're a YouTuber yourself and you want to give me helpful tips, I'm always open to them. Drop a comment below. I tend to respond quickly to them. Make sure to subscribe. Also, I am thinking about starting a live stream on either on Twitch or on YouTube, coding for maybe an hour a day, doing open source projects. So if you want to give me your opinion on that, please drop a comment below. Let me know if you'd be more likely to watch if it's on Twitch or if it's on YouTube. But either way, if I do live streams, I will be uploading the video to YouTube. So let me know what you think about that. Once again, thank you for watching. I appreciate your business. And yeah, check in next time.